guys, it's Becca. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be going into the pros and cons of living in Nashville, Tennessee. So just a little backstory. I moved to Nashville with my husband in January 2021. We moved here from New Jersey and pretty much left everything in New Jersey to come here for James to pursue music. James is my husband. He is a very talented songwriter and drummer, and that's what we originally moved here for. Since then, he has transitioned into the business side of music, into music publishing. So that's besides the point, but just a little backstory of why we moved here in the first place. Also, before I get into the video, please disregard that there are no pillows on my bed. I am currently doing the laundry, so that's where they are, just in case you're wondering. Okay, so let's start with the pros. Let's start on a very positive note. Number one, and granted, there are so many pros, so I might be a little sporadic. I don't have a list in front of me. I'm just going, off the top of my head here. Number one pro, I would say, is there is always something going on here in Nashville. Nashville is a very lively, active city. There's always events going on downtown, especially little random pop-up events in East Nashville. There's always different markets coming up and happening pretty much every weekend, whether that is, festivals or music events or thrift pop-ups or vintage markets. There's literally always something to do for everybody. No matter what your niche is, no matter what your field is, Nashville really does have it all. And I would say that the one common misconception moving here, I thought that it would be all music, and I was very wrong. Nashville is definitely a very musical city, but definitely not all music. I'm not musical at all. So moving here, I thought that Nashville would pretty much revolve around country music, and I was definitely wrong. Although I do love music, I am not musical at all. So I love Nashville because it literally has something for everybody. And that's just one of the top pros, I would say, just that comes to mind first, is that it truly is a very lively city. Number two, the restaurant scene is phenomenal. Nashville, obviously, besides New York City is the number one city I can think of where the restaurants are just insanely good. I will say Nashville has amazing food. And no, it's not all just fried chicken. It's not all Southern comfort food. They really have a little bit of everything. Tons of different cuisines. The restaurants that I've been to are all just so spectacular in both the food quality and also the aesthetics of the restaurant. If you've ever been to Nashville, you would know that the restaurants just all around are just very pleasing to be in, especially when you're in East Nashville, the Gulch, downtown. These are all areas of Nashville that I'm saying, but the restaurants really are just so good. There are so many different options, literally so much for everybody. I am definitely a foodie. James and I are both foodies. We love going out to eat and we love trying new places. On the topic of eating, let's get into drinking. James and I love drinking coffee so much. We are literal coffee fanatics. And moving here to Nashville, I was super excited because coming from New Jersey, you definitely have good coffee shops, but not nearly as many options as you do here. James and I have a revolving list where we are constantly adding to. I think we're over 40 now of different coffee shops that we would recommend here in Nashville. There are so many and there's always some popping up. The coffee shops are just perfect. They're literally so good. I love them so much. The coffee scene here is just incredible. And on the topic of drinking, if you do drink, there are also many different types of bars and restaurants and little cocktail lounges and things like that. I don't personally drink, so James and I have only been to a few cocktail lounges and gotten mocktails from there, but there's definitely a lot for everybody here. There's definitely no shortage of places to go, that's for sure, when it comes to eating and drinking. The bakeries here, incredible. The ice cream shops, there's just so much here. I can't even wrap my head around it. When I say I'm constantly adding to a list of things to do here, It's so true. You never run out of things to do, like ever. We are constantly adding to it. And I love that about a city. I love living somewhere where there's always things happening and things popping up and new places to go and try out. Nashville's a very collaborative city. So if you are deciding to move here for music, definitely a good choice because there are always different music festivals going on, different songwriter rounds, different collaborating events where you can collaborate with other artists. A lot of people are here for music, so it makes it a lot easier to make connections and grow connections and collaborate with others. Whereas, somewhere like LA or New York, it might be a lot harder to do that. And Nashville, I would say, really, really does have that collaborative aspect to it, which I love. It's also such a creative city. A lot of people that you bump into are going to be into music, and that's for sure. A lot of people who meet me ask me if I'm like a country artist or an artist, and I'm like, no, not at all. I'm not at all musical. But it's really fun living in a city like that where people are all pursuing their dreams, and you definitely sense that. So I love that aspect of it. On the topic of collaborating, I'm going to go into the community aspect of things. I will say the saying that you hear where people in the South are a lot more friendly, I would definitely say there's some truth to that. Now, if you've ever been to Nashville, you would know, I think going here, you expect a lot more people to be from here, and that's just not the case. There's a lot of people who are transplants who come from different areas, honestly, mainly the West Coast, I've noticed, or surrounding areas like Kentucky and Alabama and different parts of Tennessee. A lot of people will come to. So not everyone is actually from Tennessee or the South in general, but the people that you do meet that are genuinely from here are truly so nice. And yes, I do believe that they are much friendlier and maybe more bubbly and more warm than people you would bump into in the East Coast. That's not to say that every state has very good people. I'm not saying that, but I will say the culture here is a little bit different. The Southern culture when you meet people who are genuinely from here. James and I have met so many amazing people that live here, whether they're, native to Tennessee or not. There's just such a good community here. And I will say a lot of that comes from the churches here in Nashville. There are so many churches. So if you consider yourself a Christian, and you are looking for a church here in Nashville, you will have no problem finding one because there are genuinely so many churches and so many different groups to be a part of, which I genuinely really love. And a lot of them also are, if you're a young person moving here, a lot of different young adult groups that you can join and be a part of. And honestly, that's how James and I have found so many connections living here. We really, really love that aspect of it a lot. Okay, next pro. And if you travel, you are going to relate to this and this is going to mean a lot to you. But James and I travel all the time, and this was a really big pro for me. The airport here in Nashville, not only is it brand new and the airport's not brand new. Not only is it newly renovated, is what I meant to say, but the airport is truly amazing because it's an international airport. So you can fly obviously outside of the country and for very good prices. And moving somewhere besides New Jersey, where we had Newark Airport at our fingertips and could fly and, from the airport at a fairly reasonable cost, Nashville has amazing flights. You can fly pretty much anywhere in the US for about the same price. And what I mean by that is flights to Florida and flights to LA are going to be very similar in price because I don't know if it has to do with us being kind of more centrally located to where the destinations are all similar distances. I don't really know why that is, but the flights, James and I have found like $14 tickets to Florida, $17 tickets to Canada, $20 tickets to California. It's just truly a great airport. It's probably my favorite airport I've ever been to, and I've been to a ton of airports. I travel all the time. But we have flown so many different places from the airport, and it's just always such a great experience. Like It's not overwhelming. It's nothing like LaGuardia or Newark or LA. If you've been to those airports, you would know what I'm talking about. But it definitely, it's just great. I love having it at my fingertips, and it's also very centrally located. It's about 30 minutes from Franklin, Tennessee, 20 minutes from downtown Tennessee, 25 minutes from where we're from. So it's not super far, and it's kind of like right in the middle, which is prime location. And it's international. So that just makes it all better. I love that. Another pro, and I consider this a pro, but I love how many different vintage and, why did I say that weird? Vintage and thrift stores. I was like trying to find the right word. Love how many vintage and thrift stores are around here. The vintage game is just truly so good here. Thrifting in Nashville is just another level good as well. James and I go thrifting literally all the time. We just went yesterday. I just went today. We love thrifting a lot, and it's really fun having so much here when it comes to, you know, vintage shopping and thrift shopping and antiquing. There's a lot here, and I love that about it so much. If you ever need any recommendations, especially on food, thrifting, and coffee, let me know. You can go DM me on Instagram, and I will gladly send you my list of recommendations. There are so many. I don't even know where to start. There's just so many. But I do have them all laid out for you, so I can send them to you. And no matter who you are, feel free to DM me. Tell me that you came to get the list of recommendations, and I would be happy to send them to you. Okay, so I know you're asking yourself, Becca, if Nashville's so great, what are the cons? I want to know them. Well, let me tell you. Number one to me, and this one means the most to me, and probably the reason why I'm not going to be in Nashville for much longer, is number one, there are no mountains and obviously no ocean. I mean, hopefully you know that, but there's not much nature here. And when moving here, my family and friends asked me, like, how are you going to live in a landlocked state? And I told myself, oh, I'll be fine. I'll just go to the beach. I'll just travel, you know, go on trips. And believe me, we have. But to be honest, it's really been hard for both James and I to grasp the fact that we're living in a landlocked state where we don't have the coast or, you know, the shore to go to, let alone to see mountains in the background. It's just really hard living in a place where all there is, you know, is the city and some hills. And granted, it's green here, which is beautiful, and I'm so thankful it's not brown, because I would probably lose my mind. But there's not much nature, there's not much hiking. You have the river, which if you love rivers, then you're in luck because there's a lot of them. You have lakes, which also, if you're a lake girl, you're golden. But if you love the beach and if you love hiking and love mountains, then you may want to think twice. I didn't think it would be such a big deal when we moved here, but it's really, over the past few years, I realized, like, I can't be somewhere that is landlocked, and that's just me. And if you don't care about that, and you're not a nature junkie, and you're not somebody who thrives at the beach, then don't even pay attention to this con, just keep moving on. But if you do, keep in mind, it's hard. So next con is, it's expensive. Moving here, I definitely thought that Nashville would be on the cheaper end because it was in the South, and that's what I thought. But Nashville is expensive, and especially when you're looking to live in downtown or East Nashville or the Gulch, Green Hills, or Franklin. Those are just some areas that come to mind. Those are expensive areas, and don't think just because it's South that it's cheap by any means. Definitely a lot cheaper than, you know, New York or LA for sure, but it's not cheap to live here. So I would definitely, you know, if you're thinking that it is really cheap, definitely rule that out, because it's not. Granted, if you choose to live a little bit further out away from the city, James and I live about 20 minutes from downtown, and we are renting a 3-bedroom for a very, very good price. And that is, New Jersey could never. So definitely it is cheaper than New Jersey for sure, but definitely not as cheap as the average home in the South. Another con to me would be the weather. It's definitely warmer, more months than not, I would say, but the moisture in the air, it's so humid here that the winters feel freezing. And when my family came to visit, my dad was like, the winters here just feel so different because the air is so moist that the air outside when it's cold is literally frigid. Feels very, very different from dry air like you find in Colorado, or the West Coast. Very different. The winters feel a lot colder and the summers feel a lot hotter. Granted, if you love humidity, then again, don't even worry about this. But I would say the weather here, it could be really rough at times, especially in the summer. It feels like you can't even breathe. It feels like an oven outside. And because the humidity is so high, it's not good. And when you have no pool and no water to go to, that's a con. Another con would be Nashville is not a very walkable city. Granted, you obviously can, when you're in the city, you can walk around. And when you live in East Nashville, you can walk around there, but you can't really walk from there to there. It's not, everything's not all together where you can walk from East Nashville to downtown to the Gulch and hop around like that. You do have to get in your car and drive to different neighborhoods and different places. But again, it's not a deal breaker for me, but it is something that, that could be a con for some people. Due to the fact that Nashville is not a walkable city, you will need a car when living here. Let me back up. You don't need one, but it's great to have a car while living here because it is going to be very hard to get from point A to point B without a car because, we don't have any subways here. It's not New York. Not a lot of public transportation other than buses and the little scooters that people ride on. But other than that, you may want to consider getting a car if you're moving here, if you're thinking about it, because you really can't explore different parts of Nashville and the different suburb areas without a car. That's just unfortunately not the case. Okay, that is all for my pros and cons to living here in Nashville. If you have any other questions, feel free to put them in the comments below, or you can head over to my Instagram and send me a DM. DM me any questions you may have when it comes to living here. Again, I can give you any sort of recommendations for coffee shops, places to eat, places to go, things to do. I would really, really recommend anyone, that's looking to live here in Nashville. I would say 2 thumbs up. Nashville's a great place to be. Really, the biggest thing for me is the fact that there's no nature here. So, again, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Thanks, guys.